All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for your interest in the Justice40 initiative and its implications for Iowa. In this presentation from the Iowa Environmental Council, we're going to share information on what Justice40 is, how it's being implemented through federal and state programs and agencies, and what some major federal funding related to climate and justice will mean for Iowa.
All right. So the climate crisis presents unprecedented challenges to our global society. A livable future requires drastic economic and social changes and multinational cooperation. At the same time, we must recognize and address the inequitable burdens the climate crisis places on marginalized and disadvantaged communities. These communities have historically been underserved or damaged by government policies and underinvestment in transportation, housing, water service, public health, and more. So our role at the Iowa Environmental Council is to work with Iowa organizations, agencies, and communities to ensure state and local entities are able to take full advantage of key federal funding opportunities with an emphasis on seeing the goals of the Justice40 initiative along with the accountability mechanisms included.
So what is Justice40? Well, in January of 2021, the Biden administration signed Executive Order 14008, tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad, and created the government-wide Justice40 initiative. The initiative centers around environmental, racial, and economic justice for disadvantaged communities that have been systemically affected by discriminatory policies, underinvestment, and other inequities. Justice40 is a whole of government effort with the purpose of ensuring that federal agencies work with states and local communities to deliver at least 40% of all benefits from investments in climate and clean energy to disadvantaged communities. So how are government agencies identifying disadvantaged communities? Well, the Council for Environmental Quality has put together a climate and economic justice screening tool, which is online and has an interactive map that uses different indicators to identify disadvantaged communities. And so they use census data and identify by census tract if the community is disadvantaged, if the census tract is above the threshold for one or more environmental or climate indicators, and the census tract is above the threshold for socioeconomic indicators. So those indicators are a few different factors which are outlined online with the screening tool, and states can use that tool to help them identify disadvantaged communities and also come up with their own definitions for that. So programs that are covered by the Justice40 initiative include programs that make investments in one or more of the following 7 areas: climate change, clean energy and energy efficiency, clean transportation, affordable and sustainable housing, training and workforce development, remediation and reduction of legacy pollution, or critical clean water and waste infrastructure.
IIJA stands for the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act, which President Biden signed into law in November of 2021, which will put $1.2 trillion into community infrastructure projects over the next decade. This will be the first opportunity for the Biden administration to implement its Justice40 initiative by investing in communities that have been most impacted by climate change and to support a transition towards clean energy and off fossil fuels. This means that there are billions of dollars that states and local governments can have access to for programs in clean energy, clean transportation, green buildings, workforce development, grid and transmission updates, recycling, and clean water. So to turn towards some IIJA investments in Iowa, the Iowa DOT will be utilizing the EV Charging Justice40 map, which will help analyze the existing and future EV networks for Iowa, and it will incorporate the location of these communities as a criteria for the priority scoring of interchanges when identifying potential future infrastructure sites. Also, the EPA's new clean school bus programs will focus on replacing existing school buses with zero emissions and low emission models. And then also there will be $45 million allocated to the Weatherization Assistance Program. This will help make homes weatherization and electrification ready by performing necessary updates and to enable safe installation of clean energy technologies such as heat pumps and solar PVs. There will also be $638 million allotted to the state of Iowa over the next 4 years to improve water infrastructure and guarantee clean water for Iowa's communities. This will include $45 million annually being dedicated to lead service line replacement. This is the largest investment in clean drinking water and the first ever dedicated federal funding to replace lead service lines.
Next, we're going to talk about the IRA, or the Inflation Reduction Act. So in August of 2022, President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law. The IRA is the largest climate investment in US history, supporting $370 billion in clean energy programs that benefit individuals, businesses, and governments. Implementation of IRA programs would put the country on the path of reducing emissions 40% by 2030. So what is in the IRA? So there are direct consumer benefits, including home efficiency upgrade and solar and electrical vehicle rebates, over $60 billion in environmental justice priorities, $3 billion in environmental and climate justice block grants, $3 billion in neighborhood access and equity grants to support neighborhood equity, safety, and affordable transportation access, and $145 million for tribal energy access. Well, thank you for your interest in Justice40 and Iowa. If you would like to find more information, please visit our website at iaenvironment.org/justice40.